when you show up on your mat or even your whole presence towards yoga, it will always give you back something that you can apply in your life on regular basis. I always tell this to all my students, one thing that sets yoga apart from rest of the other physical activities is the breath. A lot of time people do a posture, an asana, and they're so focused on the physical aspect of it that they don't even breathe. I'm sure we've all experienced that at some point of our practice where we are so much focused on the practice and then we'll be like, oops, I'm not breathing. Yeah.
Vanakkam, Namaste, and hello everyone. Welcome to the 80th episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Ramya Ramamurthy.
Ramya Ramamurthy is a yoga instructor based in Bangalore, India. She was drawn to yoga since she was a young child. Once she had started to practice yoga regularly, she realized the profound impact it had had on her, both physically and mentally, and how it had transformed her own life. This drew her to learn and understand more about yoga. She was always drawn to teaching, and this had led her to set up a nonprofit organization called Bridgin to impart education to children in shelter homes and orphanages prior to her starting to teach yoga. As she learned and understood yoga and its philosophy better, she was also determined to help empower and transform others by teaching yoga. Ever since she has began teaching yoga, she has taught and conducted in-person, online live yoga classes, yoga workshops, online yoga programs, and yoga retreats, reaching out to more than 10,000 people. It is a pleasure to welcome Ramya on the Inside the Minds of Great Yogis podcast.
So let's give a big round of applause to Ramya.
Hello, namaste.
Namaste. Hi, Ramya. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to today's podcast, the discussion we're going to have. So, and how are you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. I'm very excited to hear about your journey of yoga. So I think we can get started. And the first question that I have for you today is, how did your journey of yoga begin? How did you get introduced to the practice?
Okay, so yoga is something that I always wanted to start learning and practicing. I was inclined towards it since I was a child. I don't know, somehow I was inclined towards it. But however, I did not get a chance to learn or practice yoga when I was a child. As usually in middle class family, though India yoga has roots in India. At that time a lot of middle class family was all about put all your efforts into studying, everything else can wait, all the other things. I was from that's what my parents encouraged. I mean, sports, all of it was a little bit on the back burner. So yeah, I went ahead and studied, focused on it, but I always wanted to practice yoga. um, you know uh, I can't really say which aspect of yoga drew me initially when I was a child, but somehow I knew that there's some point in my life where I will be practicing yoga and learning more about it, and so and then yeah, academics went on, then I got a job, and then I got married, and then I finally decided, okay, now let me go ahead and start learning yoga, so and practicing it for myself. So that is when I enrolled into a yoga class near my house at that time. And both me and my husband, we started practicing yoga there. And I was really drawn to all the benefits I felt. Firstly, the whole practice, the energy that the practice brought, I was drawn towards it. And then I could feel how my physical, mental health got better, And then that's when I decided, okay, so this is the asana aspect, this is the breath aspect. How about learning a bit more of yoga philosophy? So that is when I took a few days of leave. I was still in corporate that time. And then I went to Auroville, which is in southern part of India, to learn about yoga philosophy. So that's where I went and I attended a bunch of classes, sessions to learn more about yoga. And then I was like, oh, this is something that's even more mind blowing and so much to learn, and also include in your own life, right? The yoga philosophy aspects as well. And then there was this part of me that now wanted to start sharing this with as many people as I could, because teaching is something that I am passionate about. And so I came back to Bangalore while I was still working in a corporate job. That's when I signed up for learning yoga to teach, teacher training course. And then the journey began where I literally dwelled more into learning about yoga. And it was a beautiful experience, understanding how the human body is, how the human mind is, or what are the roots of yoga,
Yeah.
all that's really very interesting for me. And yeah, and then that's from there it went on. While I was still working, I got certified as a yoga teacher, but then I knew that I still had to do a lot of my own self sadhana, self practice, in terms before I'm ready to teach. And I always felt this, I'm going to get this calling when I feel I'm ready to teach. And so I just went on with my work while also learning and practicing more of yoga. And then one fine day, literally one fine day in 2018, I decided, okay, now is when I'm going to take that leap of faith and start teaching yoga as well. And yeah, that's been a very gradual journey of learning and then moving on to teaching yoga.
That's amazing. It's really nice to hear about how you got started and how you got introduced to this practice. So thank you for sharing that there. And I'm going to move on into the next question that I have for you. So I believe you've taught over 10,000 students globally. So what has been the most rewarding aspect of working with such a diverse student group?
Mm-mm. Yes, so I have taught over 10,000 students. The online yoga model as well as the in-person model has made this happen. And also where I used to teach with studios where there were in a class 50, 60 students as well, that's happened. So that way, yes, I've been able to teach a diverse set of students from even children. I'm also a certified children yoga teacher, RCYT. So I've also taught them. So my whole experience has been firstly, that yoga is truly accessible to all, irrespective of your age, irrespective of your background, irrespective of what you're looking for from yoga,
Yeah,
whether it's the physical aspect or the physical and mental aspect or at a spiritual level, whatever you're looking for, yoga can offer something to you,
yeah,
and when you show up on your mat or even your whole presence towards yoga, it will always give you back something that you can apply in your life on regular basis, so what I have understood by teaching this diverse group is that yoga is has something to offer for something to everyone, irrespective of what your needs and requirements and for what you turn towards yoga.
yeah, absolutely. And it's really nice to see how you kind of had that student base as well, both in person and online. So I wish you the best on a continuous sort of journey, and I'm sure that the 10,000 will grow further. So now I would like to come into the next question. So I believe you had a nonprofit called Bridgin. Correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly, but I was wondering what inspired you to start this nonprofit, and do you incorporate, yoga in your work with children as well?
Mhm. Yes. So, yeah, and by the way, you spelled it correctly. It is Bridgin. Yeah, and I started Bridgin, a nonprofit organization, much before I started teaching yoga. Again, as I told you, teaching is something that I'm really passionate about, and I love being with children. So Bridgin is a nonprofit organization for children who come from who are in shelter homes and orphanages. So the whole idea of Bridgin was to give these children probably otherwise what they don't have access to, and with the main thing I saw that is children in shelter homes and orphanages go to a Kannada medium, like in Bangalore, Karnataka, the primary language is Kannada, or they go to Kannada medium or a Tamil medium school, because of which they don't have much access to English. And we all know that English is important for them once they move out, finish their college, for them to get a job, right? At the same time, mathematics is something a lot of time these children were struggling with. So that prompted me to bridge the gap, just as the name suggests, bridge the gap where we can give these children the set of important education aspect that will help them to cope up with life post school and college and also get a good job, right? So Bridgen was completely volunteer driven, where we would have college students and working professions also, who used to dedicate weekly 2 hours to
Mhm.
teach children. We would have these students assigned to each set of volunteer, two volunteers, actually a group of children for two volunteers, and we had our own curriculum. So that's how it started, teaching English and teaching math, and then slowly we begin introducing a lot of life skills. We started taking the children out on small excursions. And yeah, and then when I started teaching yoga, especially when I did my children's yoga, where I had to do some assignments of teaching children yoga. So that is when I just thought, okay, I already have access to children. Let me do my assignment with them. And I started teaching children in Bridgen as well yoga. And after that, yes, I have taught even children in Bridgen yoga. And
Mhm.
we've had a couple of sessions where we've also taught yoga to volunteers in Bridgen, more than asana aspect, the more mindfulness aspect, which will help our volunteers who are college going people to cope with their exams, or also working professions. So yeah, so that way have been able to introduce a bit of yoga even to Bridgen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think that's such a great initiative. And I think with you introducing the platform, Bridge in itself is an art of seva, like selfless service. And that itself is yoga, right? So I love how you kind of involve yoga in this as well. And I think that's really beautiful there. So thank you for sharing a bit about your initiative there. And the next question that I'd like to come into is, how do you ensure that your yoga teachings are accessible to students from different cultures, linguistics, and even physical backgrounds?
Okay. So again, as I told you earlier, yoga has something to offer to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Irrespective of where you come. So firstly, in terms of, when you come to my yoga class, there are a set of things that I do and share, but there
Mhm.
is always, like if somebody is not comfortable with something, it is absolutely okay. It's a personal choice, and I'm no one to judge. Just because I'm aligned to a few things, just because I resonate with few things, I don't expect everybody else from different cultural background to resonate with the same thing. Like few people, I've had students who are not comfortable chanting. So that's fine. If you're not comfortable chanting, when we all are chanting in class, you can just stay still. You can just close your eyes and just breathe in and out. So that way, respecting their choices. A lot of time that's what yoga teaches, how to make it more inclusive. The whole idea for me when I start teaching was to make yoga as inclusive as possible, right? So that way it's okay, respect their choices, right? That is very important. So from cultural background, respecting the choices they have. So I've always made sure that if somebody is not comfortable with something, it's fine, it's
Mhm.
okay. And then from different physical background, yes, so that is where modifications comes into place, the asanas. So I personally believe I am able to give a lot of modifications for any of the practitioners who comes to me based on their physical abilities, their physical limitations, and all of it. So that way they see yoga can still give them what they're looking for, irrespective of whether or not they're able to do certain asanas, right? So not
Yeah.
judging the rest on whether what they can do or what they can't do.
Mhm.
Instead, give them an opportunity to allow their body to explore what the body needs at that time and is able to do, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And I think it's important to listen to the students' choices as well. You know, if someone doesn't prefer chanting, I really love how you said that, they can sit and maybe watch or observe the class, right? So I
Yes.
think I think that's really nice that, we're able to kind of respect one another's choices. So, and I think that's really vital there. So thank you for sharing that there. And now I have some rapid fire questions for you. And the first question that I'd like to get into is, can you explain the importance of breath work in your yoga philosophy and how it enhances the practice?
Okay. So I always tell this to all my students, one thing that sets yoga apart from rest of the other physical activities is the breath. Because in yoga, when you're doing the asanas, we stress so much upon when to breathe in, when to breathe out. So breath is nothing but an energy that we are inhaling and exhaling, right? So
Yeah.
literally using the breath, the way you're able to move into a posture, the way you're able to feel the posture, the way you're able to hold the posture, all of that changes. So
Mhm.
focusing on the breath in the posture is very, very essential. It's not about taking long breaths. It's not about taking deep breaths in the very beginning. Being able to take deep breaths, long breaths will eventually come, right? But are you breathing in the posture with awareness? A lot of time people do a posture, an asana, and they're so focused on the physical aspect of it that they don't even breathe. I'm sure we've all experienced that at some point of our practice where we are so much focused on the practice, and then we'll be like, oops, I'm not breathing. Yeah, and so that's when that's so important. So I'll keep reminding my students that come back to your breath, come back to your breath. If something's difficult in your practice, come back to your breath. If something feels inaccessible, come back to your breath. If you've forgotten to breathe, come back to your breath. And the same thing applies even in your day-to-day activities. If you're feeling stressed, just take a moment, step back and breathe. You will notice how that can really shift something in you, just
Yeah.
making you feel a little bit calm. Because a lot of time when we are stressed, we're taking fast breaths. But when you take a moment to pause and breathe deeply in and out, maybe little you'll be able to look at the situation from a different perspective, or at least it'll give you a moment of calm, which will probably help you to deal with those situations better, right? And our body is so beautiful that there is even the asanas that you do, it so beautifully guides you when to breathe in, when to breathe out, right? So accordingly, if you follow that when to breathe in, when to breathe out, it eventually will come with practice. You'll notice how every practice on the mat will transform into a much, much more blissful feeling. And even your everyday activities, when you mindfully breathe and do it, there'll be
Yeah.
so much calm in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you have described it. And as you've mentioned, I think breathing is such a vital part with yoga. Like prana is a vital force on its own, right? So I think you've touched upon it so well. So thank you for sharing that there. And the next question that I'd like to come into is what are some simple ways that students can carry mindfulness and breathing practices into their daily lives? Now, I know you have mentioned, breathing in and out like in the previous answer, but what are some, if you were able to get into some of the specifics, what would it be?
Mm. Okay. Yeah. So the first thing that, students or anybody also, but okay, specifically, let's stick to students. I know they have so many things in today's world calling for their attention, right? They have the
Yeah.
exams, probably going out with friends and everything else, right? So how do you start your day matters, right? So
Yeah.
take a moment every day when you get up, instead of checking your phone the first thing or just thinking about, okay, what all I have to do today, what all I have to study today, where all I have to go today. Take a few moments to just wake up, sit on your bed, and deep breaths in and out. So that way you're already regulating your nervous system to begin the day with. So your nervous system is not in a very, flight or fight mode. It's a more relaxed mode. So the moment you wake up, take few deep breaths in and out, and then go ahead with any other thinking you want to do, any other activity that you want to do. So this way your breath will regulate your nervous system from the very beginning of the day. And this is
Mhm.
something you can always apply throughout the day as well, whenever you feel very overwhelmed as a student. Take pausing that, just deep breaths. And deep breaths does not have to be you're forcing yourself to take long breath. For example, if I'm able to breathe in for 5 seconds, somebody else is able to breathe in for 7 seconds or 3 seconds, which is fine. What is your deep breath? So this is something I want to emphasize, because a lot of people try to take really long breath and they're forcing themselves, which will cause an additional stress, right? So deep breathe in and out what you're able to do that at that point of time. So that is something you can do at the start of your day. And also
Mhm.
another beautiful practice that students can do to regulate balance in their life, in their days, after they take few long deep breaths in and out, just spend another 2 to 3 minutes and do alternate nostril breathing, right?
Okay.
Alternate nostril breathing is a beautiful practice where you're regulating both hemisphere of your brain to get equal amount of oxygen at the beginning of the day. When both hemispheres of the brain get good oxygen, oxygen is food for the brain. So both sides of the body are regulated well. They are in balance, right? Your emotions are in balance. And so that's a beautiful way to start your day. And then towards the end of the day, again, before you sleep, you can do few rounds of Brahmari or Om chanting, right? Wherein the practice generates good amount of vibrations, which helps you to sleep well. And also, if there's anything that's bothering you, any stress, anxiety that's bothering you from the day, that will also help you to calm your body and your mind. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love all the techniques that you've shared there, and I can definitely vouch for that because each and every one of those techniques is like a gift to yourself. It's like you're rewarding yourself with that practice, and I think it's just so beautiful. So yeah, thank you for sharing that there. And the final question that I'd like to come into is how do you balance the traditional philosophical roots of yoga with the modern needs of students today?
Hmm. Okay. So yeah. So again, it's very, very important. See, the traditional roots of yoga. I know it can be very philosophical, but again, it's all about testing, checking what is it that you want. Right. Everything probably does not apply to all of them. Right now, if probably my son, who's like 4 years old now, when he's 7, 8, and I want to introduce him to yoga, the first thing if I tell him is, come on, I'm going to make you sit and I'm going to read out a set of scriptures for you and then we'll take it from there. He might be interested or he might not be interested, right? So I'll have to probably gauge there. So what is it that is really calling him towards yoga? Probably he's seen me practicing the asana aspect. So even a student probably seen more of pictures of, when you say yoga, a lot of time we see pictures of only postures, right? So it is okay to start from there. So start off from there, start off from the asana point and then move to the breath, then move to the meditation, and then move towards the philosophical aspects of yoga, where you learn more about what the scriptures are ready to offer or able to offer to you based on your interest. Because that is how I started, towards yoga. Like, I know I wanted to learn yoga, but I didn't really know the philosophy of yoga, though I'm from India and I was exposed to a lot of chanting and bhajans when I was a child. I did not really know, even Bhagavad Gita, all of that, we had it at home, but not really read them as a kid, right? Nobody really guided us. So when I was like 25 years is when I first practiced yoga. It was all about just starting off with the physical aspect, because that is what I could connect. Probably every other student or every other youngster, first thing they can connect right now is, okay, they know that they have this physical body which they can move accordingly, right, with the help of yoga or any physical activities. Then from there, when they find the right teacher who will guide them how your breath and physical body is linked, then they understand its importance. Then they go through breath, then they go to dhyana, the meditation. So it's a journey, where probably, see, for some people it's an inside out journey, for some people it's outside in journey. So if for a youngster in the modern world, outside in journey works, it's fine, right? Where still you're getting the work of, where you're reaching the inner core, where you're reaching the yoga philosophy by understanding little by little. So that is something, that's a way I think we can approach for students.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that there, and of course, kind of approaching how, modern students today can approach, the ancient practices and like the understandings of yoga there. And it was a pleasure speaking with you today. So thank you so much, Ramya, for joining me on the 80th episode. It was a pleasure having you on the show, and I really enjoyed listening to your perspectives of yoga as well as some of the practices that you had recommended to our listeners who are yet to listen to the episode. It was lovely hearing your perspectives. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone else who's yet to listen to the 80th episode of Inside the Minds of Great Yogis. And until next time, I hope everyone has a great day. And thank you for joining me, Ramya. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati, and thank you for everybody who's coming to listen to this episode. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.